Hey everyone, this is Trucker Wayne. All right, with the Trucker Wayne News Network. All right, this is episode 4. We are and we may be potentially breaking some huge news in the trucking industry. But let me tell you something. I got a call today from a guy who is a chemical management engineer, and it's a big deal. And now I'll tell you a little bit of history before I give you the news, so you know Trucker Wayne's not full of it. The CLS, he has a CLS in Certified Industrial Sales. A CLS for a chemical industrial manager it's huge. Only less than 5% in America and United States, less than 5% have their CLS in chemical management. It's a big deal. It's a really big deal. This guy gave me a call and said, Wayne, you may want to stop here for a little bit. And I've known him. He's been in contact. It's a source that I trust. Let me tell everyone a little bit. Now, you've been thinking, there's a couple things on our page here. Our page, we create content, right? We create it. We don't regurgitate content, and we also don't complain about content. Creating content is hard work. But also, as you've noticed too, we've also lately have been trying to put a little bit of humor in the trucking industry, and that's been my thing I've wanted to do for a while. Man, everyone's too high strung. They are too high strung. So what we're doing here with this bit right here is we did a funny one, and we've had some serious ones coming up here, but a little bit about me and how would I have this type of contact. In the last year, it's been huge for Trucker Wayne. If anyone, you've been watching me over the last year from October to October, it's been the biggest year for Trucker Wayne yet. Interviewed a CEO. I interviewed a director of operations, and a really big one was, if you remember, last year, right around this time, I was in Alaska. Took a break from what I was doing, and one of the largest oil companies in America interviewed me via Skype about wanted my opinion on the state of the trucking industry. It was big, and it's been used internally. They paid me for it, and it's still being used internally. So Trucker Wayne in the last year has actually built up some contacts in the trucking industry. And believe it or not, these chemical guys are knee deep into the trucking industry just like anybody else. They're huge into it. And I've got some really good contacts from last year in Alaska when I did that interview. But this guy is in the Midwest who gave me this little tidbit of information, and I personally just went, oh, really? Now, I'm not going to get any into the politics of it too. You guys, hey man, you all know it all, right? I'm just giving you the facts of what I heard, and I'm really happy to bring it to you here on the Trucker Wayne News Network. Who knows? Now, if this happens, you heard it here first. But like anything, I trust my source, and it's just a source. This is stuff that's been milling around the chemical industry for a little while now, since President Trump took office. But anyone's been following knows that the HOS reform may be in big trouble because of the spectacular crashes that have happened as of recently, as of late. I know the Trump administration has promised us that, and he's come through on a lot of them promises, and I'm making the most money. I'm not getting political here. I'm just stating facts that I've never made this much money with someone in office. I could agree or disagree with his politics. I'm giving you facts that I've never made this much money. And here's the thing. It looks like HOS reform may be in trouble. And word on the street is that the Trump administration and the White House may actually be willing to give and take on something else. Here's the news. They may be willing on DEF. It's huge. They may loosen up some of the regulations and may actually do away with DEF altogether. Wow. Okay. Now, anyone who knows that now, I will say the HOS would actually 100% affect us truckers out here every day. And with all the crashes that's been going on lately, they are happening. And I don't report them here. You guys have 100 different sites, but they've been happening, and they're talking about, and this is politics, talking about maybe not doing one but doing the other. And DEF, as anyone knows, with DEF, it's really interesting if you talk to any of the maintenance guys too, that trucks used to be able to run 1 million miles. Now they're actually going 600,000 or 700,000 miles because of DEF. My opinion. That's not my opinion. Is what I've heard from the maintenance side of the trucking industry. I'll tell you my 2 things that happened to me in the last 3 years. 2 major breakdowns were both DEF related. So one of them was in Roswell, New Mexico. Even the aliens left Roswell, New Mexico. It was a 9-hour ordeal with a DEF issue to get a tow truck from Albuquerque to Roswell and then bring me down loaded. Just the time alone, but I didn't feel endangered to anyone. But let me tell you something about that DEF in Canada. Last year I broke down DEF issue in Canada during a blizzard, negative 20 degrees below zero, and having all kinds of issues. And I was a little concerned during a blizzard and all the DEF issues that was going on, and felt for my safety at the time, but I made it out alive. I'm just giving facts now. My opinion on DEF, man, that's not my job. I'm just telling you exactly what happened to me. So there's been a lot of discussion on DEF in the trucking industry since they started it. So in the chemical management world, there is a real swelling of talk about if they don't do HOS reform. In the Trump White House, they're talking about maybe giving or taking on the DEF issue. So that's huge news. It may or may not come to fruition, but I do have some really good contacts over the last year in the trucking industry. We have built this up. Driver Solutions, Derek and I, we've built this up enough where we feel confident enough that we are making huge strides in the trucking industry. Who would have thought 6 years ago we'd be where we at today? So I don't know. I'll let you guys talk about it on the comments below. A lot of politics involved, especially with all the stuff with global warming going on and with DEF and all this stuff. But then again, there's a lot of issues with DEF on the trucking side. And I gave you two examples, guys and ladies. I gave you two examples. One of them I was really worried about. In the last 3 years, both my major breakdowns were DEF related. So they brought DEF into the industry, and I don't know. I'll let other people talk about it on here. I'm just telling you what I heard from I trust this source, and it'll be very interesting to see if something happens with that. So this is Trucker Wayne with the Trucker Wayne News Network. And besides that, I'm going to give you a little tidbit for the day. I had to do that today. Did you guys know? It's real important. All right, I can give you all the news you want, but when you do a drop and hook, and which I'm doing right now and doing my 30-minute break, you have to do a pre-trip, minimum 15 minutes. But we all know now, I will say, if you did the truck and you're checking the trailer, it has to be 15 minutes. If you don't and you get stopped for an inspection, that'll be a big hit, because they can see that. And I have to change my, right now that I'm thinking about it too, I got to change my load tab to show that I have the different trailers. So here on Trucker Wayne, like I said, we create content. We don't regurgitate it. We don't complain about it. What we've done here is try to help the trucker survive, and we think we've done a pretty good job. Now we're trying to give you news from what we've built up in 6 years. So it's Trucker Wayne, and I am out.